Hmm? Wow, that was fast. Are we on already? Jeez. I didn't even get
Yeah.
to my intro yet. Hello, everyone. Oh, by the way, this is the intro now. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Koopa Cast, Pure Nintendo's bi-weekly podcast dealing with all things Nintendo. This is episode number 85, Spoilertastic Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm your host, Matt, the Multimedia Manager of PNM and PureNintendo.com. I'm joined by Editor-in-Chief Justin Sharp
Hey everyone, good to be here.
and Pure Nintendo contributor Harrison Milfeld.
What's up, everybody?
Now, before we get into this in-depth discussion of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and once again, I will say that we will spoil the main story. So, if you feel like you have not beaten the game, or if you feel like you need to explore a little bit more about Mira, please bow out now and join us later, because we'll be waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's get into it.
Let's
How
go.
many hours have each of you put into this game?
Justin, I think I already spoiled you guys before, but Justin, go ahead and I'll say mine.
All right. Well, I'm going to be a lightweight, I guess. I'm right at 70 hours. So
I'm total playtime 100, just a little bit over 120 hours, and I beat the main story missions, I believe, at around 101 hours. And everybody's gonna ask me like, what took you so long? It's like, well, I was one who felt like those first few hours were quite a slog to get through, and in between missions, I was just kind of messing around, just exploring and just grinding or just leveling up my character. So, which by the way, thank goodness for the internet, like for at least some Xenoblade fan pages for releasing good grinding spots, because there were some points where I'm just like, okay, this boss is not helping me out. I really need to grind this out. So that was it. That was what helped out basically in the amass my amount of time to it, and that and just doing a bunch of different side missions, affinity missions, just because I knew that the story mission was just going to wrap up pretty quickly. So
You guys are close to me in terms of hours, almost.
uh-huh.
I'm at a staggering 190 hours.
Good night. Yeah.
jeez.
So with our totals combined.
Yeah.
Years.
The
Man.
first 40 hours is that first campaign that ultimately I restarted on, and then
Yeah.
after that, 158 hours in this new campaign.
Nice.
What were you just doing on the new campaign? Just like going around, just the first campaign, you were just like, hey, review. I just want to get the story out of the way, and then this, I assume you just wanted to just explore, look around, and such, and just do things you missed out on.
The first campaign was for the review, trying to get it out of the way, and then, oh god, I don't know what to do next. Oh, did I soft lock the game? Oh, we've been about 12 hours in, I gotta start over.
Yeah.
And then the next 60 hours were, oh my god, when's that due date going on? Oh crap, it's tomorrow, let's keep playing this game. And then it was leisurely, let's look around Mira.
Like you were cutting it on the review, I presume, as far as like how long between completing the final story mission, which was chapter 12, did you have? How much time do you have left over to basically turn in the review?
Completing the final story mission.
Wait,
Sometimes I had to cut my losses at chapter like 10 or 11 or something like that. I got the flying skill, and then I spent long enough into it. I'm like, okay, I got the idea.
Yeah, you got the idea.
I'm not going to talk about the story. I think we're fine with that.
It's one of those things where it was not front and center, obviously, and then at this point you're just like, okay, you got the one thing that was advertised, you got the mech, you got the skill, and then you got the flight module, so it's like, I am having fun now. Okay, I have reached the goal of what I wanted to play with this game, to obtain a mech, and it's like, it should be advertised in a box, like, it may take 20 to 30 hours before you get your first skill.
Yes.
And not even the one on the box, the one with the flying parts.
Yeah, exactly. And even longer for the flight module. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. And I was like, you know what? I put like 80 hours into this game. I should have gotten the gist of it. Okay, let's put the review up.
Yeah.
And then I'm not so sure now, but I'm sticking to my score.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we talked about the review way back when, Matt, the multiplayer aspect we didn't quite fully understand, I don't think.
I still don't quite fully understand the multiplayer aspect. I mean, you recruit other characters.
Yeah, but there is actually a multiplayer where 4 people can get together in a squad and play with each other online. I haven't done it yet, but I have seen that it is possible. So I was like, that's pretty cool. So
I've never had enough people online.
yeah,
It's like just you or Tristan, and that's it.
yeah. Harrison, I need to get you on there. I don't think I've seen you in my friends list on there, but
I think wait, I'm friends with you on Miiverse, aren't I?
at least on Miiverse, yeah. The only people I see Kevin, I see Matt, I see Tristan, but those are the only 3 that I see on there, which is weird. Because I think I do have you on Nintendo Network or
well,
whatever.
my level character's 57, so feel free to actually, recruit me, because I didn't know how recruitment worked at first. I was thinking, like, so are they controlling this online? But no, it's actually, it's another NPC, but with the same levels and stats of what that character is, what that person has made. So it's like, hey, I haven't done that because there were times I almost wanted to do it in certain story segments where it was just so frustrating to me because I will say it's like at Chapter 9 is where I feel like this is where this kind of makes Xenoblade the Chronicles X not miss the rim, it seems like, a little bit in terms of just being almost on par with its predecessor, but not to dismiss this as basically, I mean, this is a great experience that I had with, but it's at Chapter 9 when you're facing the Rothians, and I feel like that is where the huge difficulty spike comes in, because I had all my characters, I assumed at one point after whatever it was in Chapter 8, because a lot of the names just always just fly by me where I can't remember them.
Chapter 8 was the big spaceship one, wasn't it?
No, that was...
The Fuzarg was like Chapter 10.
It's 10, I believe, 10 or 11.
Okay.
Chapter 8 was just after NLA was attacked, right?
Chapter 8 was when new NLA was attacked, and you faced the... it was another gangling member, female gangling member, and...
Oh, yeah.
God, for giant, henchman or whatever, so I can't even think. But
he was like the evil version of Celica and Rook.
Yeah, that. Which, by the way, I haven't really gotten any missions with him. Oh, I know Celica to be exact, but it was at Chapter 9, and after Chapter 8, though, I assumed, okay, just go into each mission, probably once it says, like, oh, I had the guidebook, and I looked in there, I was like, okay, these guys are about level 39, so go in there 5 levels ahead or whatever, like, have all my members ranked up. It didn't really matter. It still got to a point where it's like, oh, you're facing 2 of these Rothian elites, and then 4 or 5 of their bodyguards. So you're just manhandled and overwhelmed at that point. So I changed up my strategy to a point like, okay, I'll face up with the bodyguards, or I face up with the prince and his basic, like, again, names. Names are not as memorable as far as Xenoblade Chronicles. I just can't give up the name of it. It didn't matter. It's like, oh, wow, get them off. And like, nope. Once you get them down to a certain amount of level, they boost up their offense, and then it just like, oh, they just cut me down left and right. And it just got to the point where I'm like, if you lose a battle 3 times, it will lower the difficulty on there. I got frustrated, and instead of grinding, I was like, that's it. I'm just going to play it this way. It's what I did on the final. It's what I did on Chapter 12, which, I mean, I'm not going to get too much ahead of myself on that because I enjoyed basically what the story was telling me going in, and even I'll say the Chapter 5 portion where it was the twist on there, where it just turned out everybody is not really human; they're all just robots or mimiosones. Yep. I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, that was actually a legitimate good twist. I did not really see. I was not thinking that one bit, but I'm like, okay. But no, Chapter 12's design for the boss battle, because how it really it locks you out of actually if you lose your skull, like in any frame of the boss battles, and you can't go back to get your skulls again.
Yeah. I warned everybody I could about Chapter 12. I said, go in there, save before you enter the Liefeld core, because if you do it afterward, you're just going to get locked in there, and if you lose your skulls, then you're just going to be stuck there in perpetual death.
Yeah.
Wait, I think it's Oh, wait. No, I think it's as soon as you go into the Liefeld, like it says at the beginning of the game, are you shoot this because there's no turning back, they tell you.
Yeah, that's are you sure like twice or something, but
Yeah, well, at least give us the scales back before you make us go into a 5
Or
boss fight.
or
Yeah.
a terminal at least or something like that, because
Yeah.
it got to one point where it's like, oh, I got through, one phase of the boss, which was Luxar and
Uh-huh.
and the main like when the skull that they had stolen,
Yeah.
Vita.
The Vita.
the Vita.
Which is awesome.
And but yes, I'm destroying in a Nintendo game where you're destroying the Vita. Wow, I could just be
It's a bit on the nose, but it's
no, but it's no, it's like I would destroy that. I'm like, okay, awesome, I got through that tough fight. And I'm like, oh, I don't have any skulls anymore. That was just a really poorly designed. I mean, I liked how it was designed in certain aspects, but that was just you got to give the option for me to get my stuff back without going back to square one.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I actually had to reset at one point, and it took me back to New LA, and so I kind of grinded a little bit, and then tried it again, but
I'd
yeah.
like to point out before we go any further on that about that fight is that I beat Chapter 12 with level 30 scales, and I think that's an impressive feat.
I had level 30 scales for all mine because I didn't rank up any of my arms manufacturers to a point where I get level 50 scales, which I completely forgot you could do that.
I didn't make the connection. I was like, I'll just get a level 50 scales eventually. Something's gonna happen. I'll do a side quest and I'll get better scales. I didn't think, oh, level up Sakuraba to level 5 and I get scales.
Mm.
Well, and what's kind of a bummer, I mean, you guys probably realize this, you have that Moranium cap as you're going along, so if you don't use it, if you don't spend it on something, then you're basically like just stuck at, whatever is 14,000. Eventually goes up. I think mine's at 24,000 now, but...
Wait, your Moranium count as far as much you can mine?
Yeah, or as much as you can hold at one point, like
right.
at once.
Oh, see, the most I could hold was about, I think 24,000. But after beating the game, I decided to do a few more of the side quests, like to get, duplicator probes and, like the storage probes and such, whatever, just to increase my Moranium, or the money that was coming in. Which, by the way, the whole Frontier nav system I really liked kind of messing around with, especially which makes a good use of the Wii U gamepad. And it just feels like its own little game within a game. It's just interesting little economy system, it's an economy system like game, whatever you'd see like almost on a tablet or something like that. And if Nintendo were to actually expand a little more on mobile, if this was like one of their side projects, like on an iPad, like hey, it's a Xenoblade mining game, whatever, something like that. Here's Explore this Mirror to actually, I could see something maybe in that similar vein to it, but I was able to do a few of the missions where I could, you had to mine 70K, not Moranium, but 70K, like, credits in one run, and then 130K. That was a pain just messing around with each probes and just trying to get sightseeing spots, because once you find certain sightseeing spots in whatever hexagonal space, it increases basically that much of money that you have on there. Trying to find certain sightseeing spots was a pain because you did not know where they were at. And it'd be like a little cliff, or it'd be a little cave right underneath that you didn't know. And even increasing Moranium, that was a little... I just stuck all mine in Noctilum. I was like, all right, here's 8 of them and connected with each other. I'm done. Here's, 80,000 Moranium. There you go.
See, you need to... there is a good strategy. I used Noctilum too to maximize my Moranium bank. And now I can store up to 128,000.
Dang.
Yeah, I was lucky. I didn't really know that I needed to do the Sakuraba level 5 for the level 50 skulls, but I don't know. I basically didn't know what else to do with the Moranium, and I saw that I was getting capped. I think it was like early on, like at 4,000 or something like that. And so I was like, well, I might as well spend it on something. Maybe eventually I'll get some newer weapons. So I just started investing in all of those arms manufacturers, and I was like I could get a level 50 scale even before, or I think I had level 5 before I was level 50. I was like 45 or something, and I had Sakuraba level 5, and so I did have one level 50 scale going into Chapter 12, but that is pretty cool that you beat the boss with all level 30s, Matt.
I I had an interesting scenario because little 12, like this chapter 12 was also another boss where I just said to myself after about 4 times trying to, okay, I messed around with like, okay, did a couple grinding, got better weapons, equipped them all to my party members, because I went in with Arena, Lynn, and Elma. I just figured, I spent the majority of my time with them, whatever, and they're pretty good, whatever, and I generally liked even their story missions that they had in there. I liked the character they have into it. I mean, I think Elma and Arena and even Gwyn are probably some of my favorite characters in the game. But that aside, the last boss, which you face is Lao, well, a mutated Lao, because of course anybody who's played the game right now, you find out that Lao is actually double-crossing the human race because supposedly in the game, well, not supposedly, because of the fact that the people behind the White Whale and all the ships that left Earth after its destruction, they were lied to, saying, "Oh, yes, all your memories are all here because of being robots on this new planet." Turns out, no, your bodies are not in storage. They all died on Earth, which I thought I connected the dots on that one. I was thinking, like, what's going to be a big twist? And I thought to myself, yeah, they're just robots right now still, but their bodies they're gone right now. But that's not near to the other twist at the end that I did not really expect. But the last boss, when you're facing Lao, though, you face them in 2 forms, I believe. One is with the scales, and this is one thing I really get annoying. Once you get a boss down, like there's 2 or 3 bosses when you get them down to half health, and there's a cutscene, and then it's back to full health, and I'm like, oh, come on, please, not this.
Yeah,
and
it was 3 of those bosses, and 2 of them were Lao.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
But I got to the second form of like Lao, the final bit. You couldn't use the scales. It was all just ground attacks, and I was just kind of just sighing to a point. Oh, this is just going to be really, really rough. And I got to the point where it was like I was about ready to start over, like all the way from square, like the beginning of the boss, just to go before I go level up. And this might have been my 5th time battling the final form of Lao. Got him down to maybe about 1/3, about 1/5 of his life left, and he just started just onslaughting me with these different other attacks. And then of course there's other enemies coming towards you. I'm the only one left, and I'm just hitting my art palette, whatever I can, whatever, just spamming it. And I'm down to maybe like below 1% health. He's down for below at least 1% health. And I'm sitting there spamming, I think, one of my, like, hitting A as much as I can on an art palette that's starting to cool down. I'm like, hit now, and then it hits it right at the last second, and then I just see the enemy break portion on the graphic go in there, and I just threw my controller to the ground. I'm like, and just sat down thinking, like, relieved. But that was my experience with the final boss of Xenoblade Chronicles, a flawed but satisfying experience. I mean, probably not near. Well, this was not exclusive Nintendo consoles, but probably nowhere near the. Wow, I really feel like I need a beer after this, or a cigarette is after Senator Armstrong in Metal Gear Revengeance. So, but no, I mean, I've talked too much about Chapter 12, and I feel like I'm getting too much off topic. It seems like.
Well, the topic's Xenoblade Chronicles X, so
well,
I think
yeah,
we're good.
You're on topic. You're good.
Well, no, but I want to hear more about it. Your favorite or least favorite bosses, or something like that.
Well, the Vita was definitely my least favorite boss. That guy was garbage, pure garbage. The stupid satellites that healed him, those were even more garbage.
Oh, those little probes that basically you had to find, it's like after it's the beginning of the second form, and you destroy those, but after you get the Vita down in its second form to like maybe
like half health or third health,
and you have to find the shield one, I didn't know where to go. And just for the sake of like, okay, I don't want my skulls to be destroyed, I just command, which by the way, you have to press start to actually, if you want to focus like melee or ranged attacks, like that little, it's a one thing on the battle menu that you always forget about. And I just got over to the shield probe, and I said, concentrate on this first, get out of your skulls. And a friend of mine was watching, like, why are you getting out of your robots? Like, because I don't want them destroyed, and
those robots are more valuable than gold during that fight.
Oh, yeah.
I did the exact same thing. I was like, all right, out of the skull. We're going to go take this thing by foot.
Yeah, that's a good strategy for it.
I didn't think for the final boss that I was more disappointed in here in how the build up of that final boss was compared to like say Xenoblade Chronicles. Simply because with Xenoblade Chronicles, you know you're going in and you're gonna go fight Zanza, who's like behind everything this whole time, and who's like defeated like this other god, and he's a god himself, and it's like the odds are really stacked against you, and I felt like there was like proper build up to that fight, and I felt like I was properly motivated to fight him. When Luxar shows up in Xenoblade Chronicles X in the Vita, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna fight him, and then he's gonna like somehow unlock the full potential of the Vita, or the Vita's gonna destroy him, as they were hinting at in the cutscene before that, because they're like, don't get into the Vita, it's gonna hurt you because you're not, the race of the chosen one, and you can't unlock its potential. It's like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going. And then he got into the Vita, and then I beat him down, and then he got back up, and then I beat him down again, and then he got back up again, but outside of the Vita, and started throwing energy orbs. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on now.
Yeah, it's a type of story that when you go through, like, it just shows how Monolith Soft really put a lot of more focus onto the world and its gameplay itself, whatever. I mean, they've probably crafted a open world to a point where even when you're going to any of the continents or whatever, aside from going inside buildings or anything like that, or just a cutscene, there's no loading going into these areas. And to me, I'm like, how did you guys do this? I mean, this is a world that's bigger than, as many have claimed, bigger than Skyrim, Witcher 3, and Fallout 4 combined. And to this point, I'm like, how did you do this? It's amazing. But with the story, though, yeah, I went in thinking, like, okay, if you're expecting this epic that what you saw with its predecessor with Xenoblade Chronicles, you're going to be disappointed. But that's not to say it's bad, but it's just... It's
different.
Yeah, it's a very different portion on there. And I believe the game's director, though, of Xenoblade Chronicles X, I can't think of his name at the moment, but he did say that he felt like the team had crafted a story where humans and robots can coexist. I heard that quote before I started playing the game, and I thought to myself, what does that mean? And it wasn't until I finished the game and I figured, oh, because of the fact that the humans and the Mimiasones, which they are bound to, but speaking of which, I want to talk about that after credits ending. What did everybody think?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not the question that I wanted answer, or I wanted the question to be like 5 chapters ago. Like, what in the world is Planet Mira? Like, I thought that was going to be the big reveal, or like the second arc reveal. I don't know how to say that. Like, again, I'm gonna have to reference Xenoblade Chronicles here, whereas like fighting the Mechanists was like the main objective, but the real objective was looming just behind it, like in its shadows and stuff like that, like something much bigger. And then you fought the Mechanists, you fought Egil, and then you realize, oh, there's this much bigger thing going on. I thought we were gonna get that exact same thing. I thought we were gonna fight the Ganglion, and like we were gonna beat the Ganglion, and say like in this game, say chapter 9, we're gonna defeat the Ganglion, and then we're gonna realize, oh wait, there's this much bigger threat that was here all along, and like this explains what Planet Mira is, and what the Ganglion are and stuff like that, instead of
it's a game.
what we got.
Yeah, it's a game that essentially. I mean, I love ambiguity in both any time of entertainment, be it TV shows or games or even films. But to me, I was really hoping we'd have that answer of like you said, what is Planet Mira, whatever, halfway through the game, whatever. I mean, to me, yeah, the big twist that we got in Chapter 5 was, oh, everybody that's here, that's walking around, is not really born of flesh. It's all robots that are controlled by their consciousness, and the goal is to basically get, which is essentially the Lifehold, who recover their real bodies, which of course we realize, oh, the real bodies are not there. It's just basically this giant, recreation tank where basically all their DNA is there, where you can recreate your new bodies. So, yeah, and that alone, whatever, kind of surprised me a bit, but it's the ending where, like I said, everything's there, like hard drives, all the things of memories, and every bit of the consciousness and everything that was like from planet Earth before it was destroyed. And I was like, okay, after this everything was done, what's going to happen? What's going to? And I feel like I'm missing one part, whatever, about Elma, which I think we can all explain. I'll let Matt explain.
About Elma being the alien,
Yes,
the
about that.
Sumerian, I think.
Which by the way, Nintendo UK spoiled in one of their launch trailers.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, at
really?
the end. Like I decided to rewatch it. Like after I beat the game, I was like, "What was it spoiling?" And it shows Elma coming out of her the stasis tank, whatever, of the Lifehold, and she's of this different alien race. Which, of course, you find out that she was responsible for giving the new scale technology to the human race to actually make sure that they would escape the planet. So she was the one who warned everybody. So she was the only thing that was living technically in stasis. So, but when we get to the end of the game, you find out whatever. It's like, well, they're assuming they're looking at Elma's looking at the wreckage of the Lifehold, and they come in and they find basically all the hard drives and all the computer system. It's all flooded because of it's been destroyed basically since they landed there. And the big twist is, how is this possible? We are still alive right now. We should be dead or something like that. And the thing is, that it ends on, it must be this planet. Something about this planet. And that's not only the end, and then it cuts to Lau unconscious and shirtless on a beach, and then some other figure walking towards him, and then Lau's eyes open. And then the ending, which I'm trying to decipher, is this story never really ends. So does this mean that Monoslava is going to continue in the next game, or I don't know.
See, my theory is that Lau actually woke up on the island from Lost.
No, Matt.
Damon Lindelof writing the next Xenoblade Chronicles.
That's exactly how it like. I mean, I haven't seen too much of Lost, but I've definitely seen like all the previews and all the eye catches and all that. And like it was the pan down on the beach, and then his eyes open, and then it just hard cut to black. And I was totally expecting to see Lost right there.
No, he's not. He's not on that island. He's on Koholint Island, and that was Marin that walked up to him in the shroud. So
I could tell you though, after Lau woke up and you started playing the game again, and you could play the game again, post mission, I definitely scoured every single shoreline, seeing if there was like post mission content or something like that somewhere. Like I was gonna stumble upon Lau.
That'd be cool.
I mean, this is the type of game where I kind of wish, even if they weren't going to make another fledged game for this for many years, I would have really liked maybe one more 2 or 3 mission DLC to it, just to kind of expand just a little bit about that. But that's obviously not the case because we know Monolith Soft is working on their next project, which is, I think, obviously an NX title, and they've even said that they want this next game to actually have story for front and center this time. So,
it sounds like they're returning more to the formula of Chronicles, which is cool. I mean, they're both different games, but I kind of prefer that more story-centric focus of the first Chronicles. Yeah.
But I don't know. It obviously but I think even if you take out as far as the story into it, this is still an enjoyable experience for what I can have. I mean, would I probably play it again just to start off from the beginning? Not in my time right now. I have too much of a backlog to actually go back and that even. I mean, I still have some stuff to finish with the game, and I do find it a bit of a chore to actually get like certain party members' affinity hearts up. Like you need, it's like okay, go through battle, get their affinity up, or go through complete missions, get their affinity up. It's a bit of a chore on there. So, but at least I got some of the harder things out, like trying to make money and trying to get much Marinium because I want the really big scales and I want to take down the bigger tyrants. So.
I will say that there is story there. It's just not in the main mission so much. And like the story is like more. There's like you can find it a lot more in the side missions, and you can start piecing some things together. And like I was doing what you're doing. Like I wanted Affinity up to do more of the Affinity missions, and so I started doing normal quests. And then I noticed that some of these normal quests started like asking a lot of questions that the main story also asked. And I'm like, okay, so maybe if I go down this line, I can figure out what's going on. And it's like some of it's really interesting. Like, have you guys like run into Professor B yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Back to the Future guy.
Yeah. I was like, yes, this is awesome. He's Doc Brown.
And he's got like the Marty McFly. What are those guys called? Man-On?
Yeah, man.
Man
Yeah.
on, yeah.
And he's wearing like that man-on version of like the radioactive suit from Back to the Future.
Yeah. It's
But
great.
the thing about him is like, past all the Back to the Future references, he realized that he's got a car that's capable of like instantaneous movement around the planet, but cannot leave the planet, just like everybody else.
Yeah. Hmm.
But But does it need to reach 88 miles per hour? Is the question.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. I think he like threw the wheels away or something like that,
Yeah.
which is stupid because I spent like $2 million on that car.
What's the most money that you've accumulated? I think I'm right now to like 4 or 5. Well, I think at least I got to be at least by 8 digits or something like that at one point.
You're at 8 digits.
I think.
I'm at like 1 point something billion.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, some certain tyrants would stop destroying my skulls. I wouldn't have to require that much money. But now I got Ares 90, and I'm just destroying everything.
Oh yeah. Well, is it really hard? Okay, with Ares 90 for everybody on there listening is the mech that basically Lao pilots that when you fight him, whatever. And was it really hard getting the materials for that? Because I heard, yeah, you can maybe get some materials through the reward tickets, but they're saying don't spend your money. You can just farm for those.
No, go for reward tickets. That whatever Damask, whatever that crap it is a pain in the ass to get. And I went through the scenario to get that material like 200 times. Never got it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do like little squad tasks right there and get reward tickets. The first time it took a while. The first time it took me like a couple hours. And then I heard about a trick where if you keep cycling through squads in the options menu, then you can like eventually hit a squad in which there's an active squad tasks available and just finish those and then cycle through squad mission or the squad selection again until you get another one. And that's how you go through it faster. And then when you get the Ares 90, then you go to fight the final menace, which is that Yagara thing.
Oh, the giant winged dragon thing that's like, yeah, that thing.
Yeah, just pummel him when you get the Ares 90. Just pummel him as much as you can. Collect the RP, collect the stuff that comes off of him, sell that for more reward tickets, use that to buy another Ares 90, and then so on and so forth.
So you're saying basically you take down that tyrant, you buy a second one, and that way your team is just unstoppable.
No, because I still haven't killed Telethia or that other ether-based jerk. The Everqueen, Ferris the Everqueen.
Yeah. I haven't even. I think Telethia or whatever the name, that winged thing, whatever, is like I accidentally ran into it. Yeah, it is. I accidentally ran into it, whatever, and I just shot it. I'm like, okay, this is bad, and I just try to fly away as much as possible, but it was like one hit, gone, dead.
How did you accidentally run into that thing? He's like 200 feet in the air.
I just got up there and I was like trying to like go through over Nocturne, and I was like, I was trying to get to some mechanical portion on there to actually survey, and I just flew up trying to look around, and then next thing I was like, oh, he sees me, crap.
Yeah.
But no,
yeah,
what was
I got in contact with him at some point too. So.
But what was the material you said for the Ares 90 that is just not worth farming? Just use the reward tickets.
There's some silver Vita core. Oh wait, never mind. Okay. I can't remember what they're called. It's not like Damask metal. It's something mask. I think it's something mask, and you have to have like 16 or 12 of them.
Ooh.
And you should get them through one of the hub missions, where you go up there and you can go to the final menace and whatever like that. And one of them is called like Twin Dolls of Mystery, and you're supposed to play that one and tear those dolls apart. But unless you're properly spec'd, then those dolls, basically you can defeat one, but the other one's like a perpetual fight because he just keeps healing himself for the same amount of damage that you dish out.
Yeah, I mean, aside from a couple of missions that I really need to complete on there, is one thing I want to try and do is I've mastered 3 classes. I know that. The top portion where it was just sword based, another one that was beam psycho busters, and then beam sabers or photon sabers. But I haven't really. I want to try and master all the classes. That's one I really want to try and do.
I've gotten through most of the classes, but I'm comfortable with the Psycho Corruptor, I think, which is you're holding a knife and you've got the beam rifle.
That's a pretty good one. Mine is well, I know you can do a combination of one. Like one is like Galactic Knight, and the other one is just a striker. I believe that's what it's called, whatever. But I kept it as Galactic Knight for a while, so that's basically my thing. And other than that, it just I'm just toying around with things. I knew once I got through the story mission, I felt like I was a bit more free to do something else, whatever. Because with a game like that size, like I want to beat the story first. That way, I can just lollygag around and do as much as I can. I mean, yeah, I could possibly do that during the process of the story missions, but something like that is like I really need to finish up so bad. I mean, that's the reason why the final boss, like, okay, I'm just gonna lose purposely on 3 times, then the level goes down, and then I did that. And I no, but I'm progressing a little bit more. I mean, this is a game that will at least take me maybe 300 hours to possibly 100%, maybe. But that's a tall task in itself. And I mean, I thought 100%ing Majora's Mask back in the day was a tall task, but now this is just way out of my element.
Yeah. How much have you guys surveyed of Mira so far?
Ooh. Well, I know in the gamepad it says for a certain area, like be it if it's Primordia, or is there a portion on there where it says like the whole planet where how much I've surveyed?
Yeah, the bottom right corner.
I want to say probably 40 or 50.
Yeah. I think I'm just at like 30% Calderos. Sylvum's like almost 40, and then the rest are like 50s, 60s, but so I would say probably global would maybe be 40%. Maybe.
See, I'm at 87%.
Nice.
I do appreciate when I'm usually trying to fill it, like, okay, I'm going to grind these characters' levels up, and like I'll take it's a certain area in Oblivia, it's like it's far east, and it's near a gangland base where you face these mechs, whatever, and I remember seeing basically like, hey, the best idea to take down these mechs are like level 54 or something like that. Is like,
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's either have this cannon weapon which takes up majority of the spots on your arch palette, and it will just kill probably anything like that, whatever, in one hit. But obviously it has like a 2-minute cooldown or something like that. Mine, I just got the scythe, and I would just go up behind them, and I make sure all my party members I have at least 2 other skells. 4 total is usually preferable, and I just go behind them, take out the scythe, hit them in the back, and that puts them down like 3/4, and then just like that, about 5 seconds later, dead. And then I would have like somebody who's like level 30, they would get like maybe 9,999 like experience points from that, whatever, and just like level up like 7 levels, and I'm just like, oh yes, this is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I use that same spot. I think it's 322.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I use that one quite a bit to grind from level 50 to 60. Which I'm not quite at level 60. I'm at 59, I think, right now. But
yeah, I'm at 57, and I know there's an affinity mission coming up with Elma that I needed to finish. That's at 58. So
yes, you do. You need to be ready for that one, because that's an unexpected pain, a huge one.
Wait, as far as battle-wise, or is it just like...
Battle-wise. Holy crap. I was not expecting the enemies that came out that they did and how powerful they were.
Yeah. Well, and that's been pretty consistent, though. There were several missions that I underestimated, and not just story missions, but even side affinity missions where I was like, man, I was way under-leveled for this, but...
Yeah, and you can't switch them out to another, like, oh, I can go to another Infinity. No, you can't. You can still do other missions, but you can't do story or Infinity missions. You're
just doing all the basic missions you can, and just trying to fight tyrants and things like that. And it's like, it's kind of a pain because once you lock yourself in, it's you're stuck with the missions that get you less. But
no, I'll brace myself for that one. So, but I mean, I've been busy paying like other things in my backlog, but I think that I might actually try that out tonight, whatever, see what it is, and map everything out by then.
Speaking of, like, just going up against enemies you're not expecting to in, like, missions, like, have you guys done L's Affinity mission, the first one, where he's running the shop?
L's Conundrum?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where you're just yeah, that's okay. I did that late. I mean, after I beat the game because I had hardly used L. Like I hardly ever used him, and I just took him around whenever got his ability up, and wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I don't think I finished that mission. I did everything to get his shop, but El's Conundrum was after you get the shop, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I did that one.
I just remembered, like, I gathered all the materials. I was like, fine. And then he goes, I want you to get, like, this Guardian Ether scale. I was like, I think I know what that is.
Mm.
They're like, yeah, go fight Telethia. I was like, what's wrong with you, game? And then you go fight him, and of course, I guess you have to get him down to 1% before he obliterates you. Which I didn't know at all, because I was like, oh man, I'm going to be trapped in this mission forever.
Mm. I gotta say though, I mean, aside from getting my scale at the end of chapter 6, but also getting the flight module after 9, I believe. After getting that whole complete package into it, like once I'm like, okay, I'm not just driving in my little transformer or whatever into a car, and I actually get to fly in this thing. Once I get to it, I'll be dead honest. That is up there with some of my favorite gaming moments of like things I first acquired. It's like up there with the gravity gun from Half-Life 2, or even the screw attack from Super Metroid. It's like once you get that item, you're just like, I am God right now. Like you just everything else that gave you such a hard time, you're just like, oh, look at me now. It was truly a special moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, this is awesome. Hey, what's that millipede looking thing? Dead.
Yeah. Well, I love it because it's such a good payoff, and you spend so much time getting to that point. It's a really good payoff because some games will, start you off, and you get some of the items pretty quick, right? I mean, most of the single player games now, I mean, like New Tomb Raider or stuff like that, it's like what 6-10 hours tops maybe for the story, and you get your items fairly quick. At least with this, the progression through the game of, getting your first scale, you always have something to look forward to. I thought they did a good job of at least spreading that stuff out. I mean, even once you get the flight module, there's still stuff to look forward to. Obviously, what Matt said with the Ares 90 and even some of the weapons that you get with the scale, even before that. So, anyways. It's pretty sweet.
It's a good payoff. It really is. But even though I feel like probably the things that bring down this game a lot, though, are it's a game that's so overwhelming to me when I recommend, like when people ask, like, oh, should I try this game out? It's like, well, it's like I have to give you this list of things to say, like, hey, you're gonna be in for this. You're gonna have to wait a while, and you're gonna have to do a lot of reading. That's like when I first played it. My first 5 or 10 hours were just spent going through a manual or trying out just to learn the combat system, or that I would try to get refamiliarized with it. And it's like once I got through that, a little bit up that hump, it's like once I started to appreciate the game a little bit more. I thought at one point when I was playing those first few hours, I was like, oh, what have I gotten myself into this game? What have I done? And then after everything, I think it was like after chapter 4 or 5, it's like everything started to click like that. So that at least it made me appreciate it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. One thing I thought was just awesome about the game was the world design.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like you talk about like most open world games that we're used to. I mean, there's tons of glitches you'll come across. Like Assassin's Creed games come to mind. Where you get stuck in graphics or just any number of things can happen, and pretty much everybody has those experiences in those games. But with X, I don't remember a single time where I had any sort of glitch in the world, like trying to jump over these rocks or climb up some cliff to get somewhere. It's just amazing how well the world is balanced, where stuff that you shouldn't get to is pretty much locked away until you get the flight module or get the first scale to make you jump higher and things like that. They did such a good job of architecting the world in such a way that things were not like some random blank wall that you couldn't pass through. It was literally you don't have the ability to get up on this cliff because you can't fly or you can't jump as high.
And when you mentioned about glitches, I mean, I will say though, this game is very. It's common to whatever when you go like to certain areas, or if there's a lot of thing on there, you will see a lot of textures like finally popping and forming into it. So
Yeah.
but I think that's to compensate for the fact of the size and the scope of this game. I mean, the first Mass Effect, for instance, I dealt with that whenever a lot. I mean, I noticed like wow, a lot of textures were taking a long time to load. So,
Yeah, and I would see that as less of a glitch and more just a, I don't know. I
the
would.
limitations
Just a
of the world.
limitation of the technology, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I could chalk that up to maybe my external hard drive not having a good read-write speed, or like this thing is pushing the boundaries so much. I mean, it can't even fit on the internal memory of a 32 gig. I don't think with all the other stuff on there, but.
Oh no, and which made me kind of think like, oh wow, they're actually bundling this game other areas. I'm like, wow, that's like, hey, here's this game that you have to download, and oh, you need more space for everything else. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Kevin, and he actually he had the disc copy, and he was downloading the data packs. And he said he's like I tried just to try it out what it was like without the data packs, and he said the load times were just ridiculous, like over a minute long sometimes. And then after the data packs, it was like it was super fast, um, but yeah, as far as like glitches where I'm like stuck in the graphics or I fall through things, like I never had, in a game of this scope, it's just unheard of to not have any of that kind of stuff. But now, granted, the cars don't have collision detection in the game, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Um, Real quick, we're reaching the tail end of this podcast, so I just wanted to get a read.
Oh, man,
Like, do you guys have like any particular moments like that really stuck out at you about Xenoblade Chronicles X? Like any particular like story beats or game beats besides the flying, of course.
Yeah. The what? Of course,
The flying.
The flying.
the flying. Yeah. Well, the flying, of course. It's if I had to say, probably the moment that I really like just got me out to it was yeah, I think it was probably finally finishing out chapter 9. Now, granted, I did say that I decided to go with a lower difficulty in that one, but I did like the setup for the fact that it was all right. You're facing this other hostile race, which was put advertised at least in a couple of other launch trailers onto it, thinking like, okay, I thought this was going to be the main race I was going against for a while, but of course they were working for the Gangling this whole time, and then of course they end up turning on them. It was that, and then of course facing off of those mechs on there. I thought that to myself, where even with the mech that I had on there, I thought to myself it was like, okay, this is what I'm in. If this is what Chapter 9 is, I'm in for a lot of deep cuts probably coming into it. But that was the moment where I kind of feel like to myself, I was like, okay, can't take this going down. I have to actually approach this a little bit more and pay attention more to how I want to approach a situation in a certain type of battle, and make sure my characters and the rest of my party members are ready to go. But if I had to say something else, it's probably the first time I got to wander around Mira and just look at the size and just run around. And even Primordia's main theme to me was the one that made me feel like, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
this is something special here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say what really stuck out to me, battle-wise. Okay, two things. So one being in a battle, the big spaceship or the mothership thing, the Zoofarge or whatever it was. I was able to beat that. All of my skells had been destroyed, and I was down to my last character, which was me. And I was on the ground, literally shooting up at the thing, and was able to destroy it in like the last second, or like the last opportunity that I had to get a hit on it. And so that was really cool, being able to finally destroy it and not have to redo that battle. So that was a cool moment. But to kind of echo what Harrison was saying, just being able to explore the world, and it just felt like such a different open world than any other open world game I've played. And sure, there are some things that people won't like. The story's kind of disjointed at times, and but it has so many immersive elements to it. I mean, just being in Noctilum, at nighttime, and you see like the fireflies and all of that stuff.
That is. It reminds you of Pandora from Avatar.
Yeah, very much so. And like just seeing like the northern lights, or that type of stuff in the sky, or like the meteor showers, or I mean, just so much detail was put into the game. I mean, even the monsters in the game, the different species are. It's just amazing how diverse they are, and they're like drinking water. They're like doing all of these different things. I don't know. It was just a great world to explore. And as far as a musical theme, I really loved the Sylvalum overworld theme. So, anyways, go ahead, Matt.
Man, you guys are gonna make me sound terrible because you guys are like, oh, the sprawling road was beautiful, and I felt like one with the planet of Mira. And then like, I've got like a specific moment. I mean, besides all the parts where I turn the corner as a giant monster and I yell, Jesus Christ, what is that? Before it murders me terribly, which that happened like 100 times.
Yeah.
But it was just like,
there were a lot of moments where I'm just like, oh, I wonder what this, and I don't realize it will notice you, and like it's very hostile. Like, oh, run, run, run.
Yeah. Oh, dead. Like, God, like those Kandor guys in Sylvalum. They're like those giant, like misshapen four-armed beast giant thingies. They're like
float around. Yeah, there was
no, those are Z-Doms.
Yeah.
Oh, those I would always have trouble with. It's like I just wander around. I warp to one like probe site, and it's like 5 seconds later it spots me. Like, okay.
No, there's like these are like these pure white biological things, and they're like their heads are like move like this like really jerky motion everywhere, and then if they see you, they just go straight at you and just murder you terribly. They're freaky looking, and there's a whole side quest with those guys at the water plant that was freaky, but that's all besides the point. What I was actually going to talk about, which is what really stuck out to me in the game. It was like a moment where I identified like that this was not a story about a core group of people, but this was a story about all of New LA and everybody's struggles, and like like a day-to-day life, which was Hope's second affinity mission. No, first affinity mission. No, second. There's like she had like 3, I think, but it was like one of them where there was a doppelganger of Hope going around, like talking to people and then like asking them to meet outside of Mira, and then they would disappear. So you had to go investigate with Hope about what was going on. And then eventually you track her down with the help of another blade. You track down what's going on, and it was like a Delphinian, which is like a not shape-shifting, sorry. It's like a species that uses like a cloaking device kind of thing. I like to turn into other people. So she turned into Hope. But it turns out that the Delphinian was working with this other woman who was like Hope's mentor in a way, like someone Hope really looked up to since her father, who was a priest, was killed in a church while she was a child.
Oh yeah.
This other woman raised her, and it turns out she was behind it. And then you think the twist is gonna be like, oh, she's a Delphinian too, and the other one, it's like, nope, she was real the whole time. And then she's like, I was looking to exploit you from day one, but you were just too nice. I can't make any money out of that way. So I'm just going to have to kill you and have this other person replace you. So you defeat the Delphinian, and then she's the only one left, and we're like trying to talk sense to her and like thinking like, oh, there could be redemption, give me happy. And she just looks at Hope and she goes, Hope, sometimes people are just terrible people, and I'm one of them. And then she takes a gun and just shoots herself in the head and then dies right there.
Okay.
And I was like, holy crap. What is going on? It's like I was like amazed. I was like, that is some dark stuff right there.
Yeah.
And that was the resolution to that quest, is that someone Hope looked up for her entire life, betrayed her, and then committed suicide right in front of her.
Phew. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is definitely more about, and I was like, I get it now. This is the people's struggle against the planet and against themselves. And there's a lot of that in the side quest, and that's what I really loved about this game.
Yeah, yeah. There was just a lot of detail in the side missions, and believable human characteristics that that come out in the stories, like you said.
A whole lot of murder, though. Now that I think about it.
A lot of murdering going around. A lot of that.
Did you guys do that man on serial murderer case yet?
I don't think so.
Ring a bell.
Yeah, there was. I'm not gonna spoil that to you, but there's like a detective case where like you're walking between two buildings and then you see a man on just fall to their death right there,
Oh man.
and then you have to investigate that, and apparently it's a series of serial murderers or serial murders.
Huh. Crazy. Man, it just shows you how much depth there is in this game. Man.
It's a flawed but incredibly engaging game if you just mind, getting over, learning the mechanics yourself, but also waiting for the ultimate payoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've heard people like fans of who bought this appreciate it, and I know, well, I think what was it off Metacritic? It's like 84% or something like that, which is good, especially for anything like that. And but even if I hear some editors or journalists out there who will say oh, I think from what I've heard of Xenoblade Chronicles X, it's nothing but a big pile of meh. But to me, it's more of meh if you really don't enjoy JRPGs, or if you don't enjoy basically something that has at least a combination of JRPGs and Western RPGs, and if you can get over basically the steep learning curve. So, but it was an experience that I thought was going to be rough when I first bought it, even though I was excited to pick it up. But afterwards, I was glad I experienced it. It was probably one of my favorite times actually to visit that world, and it just little things. There's just things in there that just fail it from just being a true masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. For me, it was a game that definitely improved after I beat the main quest and focused on the side quests. Because that's when the world really rose off to life. And that's what Monolith thought did best about Xenoblade Chronicles, is people's interactions with each other, and they all had plots. And for this one, it wasn't just the affinity missions, it was normal missions. You'd see kind of people grow and interact with each other, and sometimes everything would work out, and sometimes not.
Mm-hmm.
More oftentimes not. It was a very dark game sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was my favorite part. Is just talking to people and kind of learning their motivations and how they're going to deal with where they are in New LA and in this big world.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Anybody have any final parting thoughts, or did we want to talk about? Sorry, I think Justin, you kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit about that Candor thing that happened at the water plant.
Yeah.
The Bihano water plant. Harrison, have you done that yet?
Doing what?
The story arc with the Bihano water plant.
Oh, the one where it's you find out these other creatures are taking over the water purification plant, and
yeah. So it turns out those are Candors.
Candors, and then one of the people there drinks the water, oh, I'm gonna go. One of the women there you're trying to save is I'm gonna go take a shower and everything like that, and then you're looking at the stuff at the screen, and then you hear something, and she turns into one of those things, which raises one question: one, if you're a robot, how is that possible?
Wait. She turned into a Candor on yours?
Yeah.
She really? I saved her.
I
was I told her not to move from that spot at all. I was you do not go anywhere. Because cause she said she's going to leave, then Candor was going to come in. I figured that was what was going to happen. When she said, I want to go take a shower, I was I've been through this scenario enough in horror movies. You're not going anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
So I ended up actually saving her. Because she watched the footage with us, and she's like, oh my god, is that what's happening to me?
I don't think she died for me, because I remember her watching the video with us. But yeah, that was really cool. It really had a Resident Evil vibe, almost Resident Evil Revelations. I don't know. It just had this. I was like, man, this is a whole different type of game in the middle of this massive game. But it was pretty cool.
There are a lot of arcs like that,
which
like I said, I really love about Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yeah.
There's a the Fortran series is also really good. Which is you start figuring out that there's a bunch of Delphinian spies within the ranks of New LA, and you investigate with that weirdly effeminate blade Laramana or Lanamana. I think that's it.
Yes, it's ringing a bell.
The one that openly like flirts with you like the first 3 sentences within dialogue. Turns out that person's really smart and is like a deep investigator.
Nice. We're talking about kind of like games within games, and just the depth of X. One genre that didn't really take advantage of was racing. It might have been kind of cool in some of the missions to have like races to, different parts of, like when you got your flight module or something, like have some sort of like, I don't know,
like a competition or something like that.
Like some sort of race from this point to this point, and you had to fly through, I don't know, some different, not like rings or anything, but you had some sort of a course. It might be kind of fun. But
while I was, can I say that this is another thing that bothered me about the game. I felt like a lot of the sound mixing was garbage, and because there were so many times where either the music, I think it was not just only the sound of the music, but I think it was just more the lyrics to it, or how much it was like its volume. You could barely hear over even the characters are speaking, and thank goodness for at least subtitles, because at least I could just understand certain things, like, what did they just say? I'm like, oh, I'm just reading here, but no, it was just really weirdly out of place in there. There's a couple good standout tracks. I like the Primordia theme. I like Theme X. I like the key we lost, and of course I do like Sylvium's and not Sylvians, but Sylvians and Noctilune's theme. I really, really appreciate those a little bit more. I am growing a little bit more for the flight sequence like theme, whatever. That takes a little while to get used to.
You better get used to it, because you hear that like almost nonstop after a while.
Oh yeah, you do. I mean, at first I thought I was gonna hate it, but then after 2 listens, I'm just like, I enjoy this. No, it's not bad. I mean,
I can accept it.
Yeah. I would have liked if there was a way to customize the soundtrack. I think that would have been really cool. Like if you could like turn on or off certain songs, because like there's some songs I could listen to over and over, but some of them just like that one song, the
night theme for NLA.
Yeah. Oh man, I just can't stand it. I just yeah. So like that song, like I literally, like when I first started hearing that song like 2 or 3 times, I was like, I went through all of the settings in the game. I was like, there's got to be a way to turn this off. So then eventually I just turned the volume down and muted the TV.
Oh, in terms of sound bits on there, I hate the voices that they gave to the Mainon. I
hate them so much. I was like, what is this, Alvin and the Chipmunks all over again?
Yes.
No. It's like, hey, do you remember how annoying basically the Gungans' accents were and how slightly racist they kind of were, whatever? Imagine that worse, but with a tinier race where he's like, and I was reading, what was it, I was just watching Zero Punctuation's like review of Xenoblade Chronicles X, and after he said his whole spiel, whatever, and when he's going through the credits, there's like little snippet segments on there, whatever, like quotes, and one of it mentions about the Mainon. It's like, well, maybe if you guys weren't, maybe the way you guys can probably not be so discriminated against if you guys didn't have a voice that sounded like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
God. And what was worse about those voices is like, you heard them even if you engaged in normal dialogue throughout the game.
Yeah.
Or even if you passed them. Like I'm running through there and the music's playing, and all of a sudden I run past a man, and the man's like, pizza! I'm like, no.
It's not different for male or females, or even the older man. It's the same.
It's the same, yeah. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I did not like the Mainon voices.
Oh well, I mean,
it's got definitely lots of blemishes for sure.
Oh no. Well, one final thing I want to say about it is like, I just like the designs of everything, be it the scales, again the world, and even the races. Given putting their voices and vernacular out of side, it's just I just like the production for it. That's where I thought. Xenoblade or Monolith stuff really worked themselves out to it, and it makes me excited for what they're going to do with even more powerful hardware next time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the world building, the races, the species of all of these. I mean, you go through your Collectopedia, and they just have all of this fauna and flora, and you just see how much was put into that, and it's just staggering.
I hope in the sequel they either You know what? Let's just say it. I hope they get rid of Tatsu. Because at
Yeah.
certain points of the game, he's either trolling us or he knows something. Either way, he's not helping the situation.
Yeah. Either way, he just needs to stay in the pot.
Yeah. I was like, don't say hom hom and then look at the camera.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
It
He
would doom
knows
us
something.
all. And that, I still, Harrison, you're shaking your head because you remember exactly what happened where you're in that pit trying to recover the Vita for the first time. And all of a sudden you turn around and Patsu's right there. And he's like, hey, I brought lunches for everybody. And it's like, the only reason you're supposed to be here is because they attract all the monsters, and all of a sudden we're surrounded.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Tatsu, get out of here. Yeah.
But do you believe probably I gotta say, do you think this probably met all of our expectations from when this? It's hard to me whatever when this game released back in December, which was about almost 3 years since it was first announced at that one Nintendo Direct where basically Nintendo just unloaded everything because the Wii U's really abysmal first Christmas sales. Did it exceed everybody's expectations? I thought it did. Well, not exceed. It met my expectations, even though I felt I was disappointed in certain areas.
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely met, and I would say exceeded it in some areas for sure. But yeah, it definitely matched the scope. Well, I would say exceeded the scope that I was expecting. Just yeah, awesome. The skells turned out to be a lot more in depth than I was even hoping for. The combat, yeah, just all of the weapons, the customization of it. I mean, just that alone was pretty awesome. Because I didn't watch a whole lot of the trailers leading up to launch, so like the skull customization, the colors, all the different attachments that you could put on, the shields, the different weapons for the back and shoulders, and I mean, and then the different classes of skulls, and then the different level skulls. I mean, there was a lot of depth, and it wasn't just like, hey, here's your skull, you use this one sword and that's it. It had the same depth, if not as much depth as the regular gear that you get on the ground. So I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, and as for expectations, I don't know. Like I tried my best to block out any expectations I could possibly have with this game. Possibly because I was reviewing it, and then also because I put hundreds of hours into Xenoblade Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured if I put expectations in there, then they were immediately going to be bound with the Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Mm-hmm.
Or Xenoblade Chronicles, sorry. And though I've referenced the Xenoblade Chronicles a lot, I still want to make sure or let everybody know that I definitely went into Xenoblade Chronicles X with like a blank slate. I was like, okay, this is its own game. Let's see what it can do. And so I let my expectations build up the further I played in that game. And in some ways it kind of did meet up expectations, in some ways it didn't. Like I said, I wanted a stronger story. I got that in the side quest, but there are still a lot of answers I kind of want to have more focus going in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and start signing off here. I want to thank Justin and Harrison for joining me on this episode.
No problem.
Hey, always a pleasure, I mean, especially to talk about a game that's you had mentioned in several podcasts, like, I'm going to get through a podcast not talking about this game.
Yeah.
And
we're just going to unload this time. I wish we could do like a 2-hour podcast because I totally would.
Yeah, I could still talk about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But alas, we must keep closing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also like to thank our listeners for tuning into the Koopa Cast this week. If you have a question for the Koopa Cast, you can always email us at podcast@purenintendo.com. You can also talk to us on Twitter. I am at @purely_Matt. Justin is at @purely_Justin. And Harrison, I'm sorry, I totally don't have your email up here.
My email,
or not email, sorry, Twitter handle.
Twitter handle, it's at H Milfeld. It's HMILFELD as in dog, so all one. So I'm sure it'll be in the description. So.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, H Milfeld, and all of us together are at Pure Nintendo. And if you want to hear more of the Koopa Cast, you can take a look at our YouTube page, youtube.com/PureNintendo. For our audio listeners, you can always go to iTunes and look up the Koopa Cast. And for those of you who are not iTunes users, you can always look up our audio collection at purenintendo.com/podcast. And finally, for more news, reviews, and features, please check out purenintendo.com, your independent source for all things Nintendo. We will see you next time.
See you, everyone.
See ya.